Greetings, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another episode of the UK Connection, alongside my two very close friends, Mr. Simon Bray, Mr. Steven Reid from the UK, of course. What's going on, gentlemen?
Did you see that there, Simon? You had to think who you were there. Nearly forgot your name. I think he nearly called you Stephen
No,
Ray
it's
there.
because I was like, all of a sudden, I was like, well, which one do I mention first? Because I try to keep it every week, turn it around. But then I'm like, do I remember which one I introduced first last time? Absolutely fucking not. So I was like, all right, whatever. I just looked at Simon and he was first. So.
Everybody's here for Uncle Simon.
In the Power Wolf review, we said Stephen and Simon, and I thought that's wrong. Simon and Stephen, that's just what it is, you know.
Yeah, he
That's how
then
it
basically
works.
went on to say we don't know what we're talking about, so that's fine.
You did not like my Powerwolf review, I take it. I
You
tried.
were,
It's
you were wrong.
okay. It's
You were
okay.
wrong. It's all right. Fair. You're
Uh,
just wrong.
Yeah, I mean,
so
I
let
think
me
that was
ask you
noble
two
of you to be
guys,
wrong, Pete. Yeah.
not to get totally off track here because we are going to talk about Iron Maiden today, but as far as like the Powerwolf catalog, where does this sit? I know it just came out, but like, is it?
Oh, it sits just there.
Um, at this stage, I would say it's probably just outside the top third for me. It's good. It's not phenomenal, but I am having lots of fun with it. And I mean, basically, read the song title, chant the chorus, because that's what they do. I mean, we all know what they do. They do it damn well, though. It's big and it's silly. It's lots of fun.
Yeah, I can see that. To me, it's just missing a little something, but it's fine for what it is. So I don't know. It's just but everything I've listened to from that band, that's kind of how I feel. I'm like, okay, it's fun. It's fine. It's maybe just not my thing. I don't know. I don't dislike it. I don't dislike them. Maybe I just don't see what everybody finds is so amazing about them. Maybe that's just what it is. Because I feel the same way about Sabaton. People go berserk over Sabaton here, and I'm kind of like, it's okay.
Eh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sabaton for me are great fun live. I mean, it's a comedy show with a heavy metal kind of background. I don't need their albums. We've discussed this at length on the show many moons ago. Good band, great live. Whereas I can sit and listen to this band and have lots of fun at home.
I'd rather listen to Halloween and Primal Fear and.
See, I'd rather listen to that than Primal Fear, personally. But I
Wow.
find Primal Fear is a bit.
And they're probably and no, folks, this is not the power metal show we've been talking about doing, right? I realize it's all of a sudden turning into that. But see, I
Iron
think
Maiden starts at 6 minutes 5.
it's something that I said on the power metal review show. To me, sometimes bands like that, they're just not riffy enough for me. Like I don't get these big memorable riffs. That's one of the things I love about Primal Fear because they're all about those big crunchy riffs and screaming pinch harmonics and blazing solos. I realize there's probably a little bit more to the kind of formula for Powerwolf, but I kind of want more of that. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know, whatever. Well, I'm sure we will talk much more about this when we do these power metal episodes. So let's get into the important thing before the important thing. Simon, what are you drinking today?
Why'd you ask you? Well, what I did today, and I didn't realize, is that I took my mother-in-law to and from church and parked her in church today, and then only then realized I was wearing my Number of the Beast t-shirt. So, oops, never mind. Such is life. I am drinking because I've got my Robinson's t-shirt on. I am drinking. Oh yeah. Trooper IPA, because you see what I did there, because it's an Iron Maiden thing. And I've now got roughly 300 Trooper glasses. I really do. I know, like, if this was an Iron Maiden, it definitely wouldn't be Final Frontier. Yeah, see what I did there? I changed it up a bit this week. Yeah. So I want to know what your beers are not. And so I do like the IPA. It's not as good as normal everyday Trooper, which I like a lot. You know, it's kind of Number of the Beast, but this is not the Final Frontier.
Well, I'm wearing a Haken t-shirt because I didn't get the brief, but my beer is in this though. See, my fear of the dark class. There we go. Looks fabulous in there, doesn't it? I haven't had this before. This is from one of my favourite local breweries, the Abernite Brewery that I've mentioned a lot on this show. This is their extra special bitter. It's not just bitter. And it's not just special bitter. This is extra special bitter. Doesn't
Extra,
really tell me
extra,
why
extra.
it's special. I've never tasted this before. This is new for them. It's 5.6. So let's have a go. Really quite cloudy in actual fact. Okay. Anyone remembers when we spoke about Maiden before, we'll get the reference that it's definitely not Fear of the Dark. This is definitely not Fear of the Dark. Okay. That's a good thing.
You like it?
I do, yes, very much so. Yes, absolutely. It's fabulous, actually. Do you know what? It's extra special.
As it should be.
As it should be, yes.
It lives up to its name, right?
It does, absolutely. I'm liking this a lot.
So as you were talking and I cracked open my can here, I was like wowed by the aroma of hoppy, citrusy sort of thing, because I am drinking a Lawson's Juice Stand Blood Orange Pale Ale. And I've been trying to figure out just where the hell Lawson's is from. And I don't know because the print is so goddamn small. I can't read it even with my freaking glasses on. Whatever. I don't know where they are. They're from somewhere. I've had their other beers before. This is my brother brought this over. And man, does it smell hoppy. Holy cow. But as you can see, it's not a hazy hoppy. This is a pale ale. Oh, that's pretty good. It's kind of citrusy, but not too much, but it's got that kind of like West Coast US IPA, kind of like it's like bitter piney. So mixed with that. So it's like bitter, piney, and fruity. It's good. This is good. 5%. I will give this a 3.892. It's pretty good.
Come on, we both said what Iron Maiden album our beer is not. Come on, Pete.
Oh, all right. Okay, I'll play along too. This is not Fear of the Dark.
I'll take that because I'm in agreement.
Sorry.
Maximum effort there from Peter.
Sometimes I have short attention span. I'd already forgotten what you guys had said. I'm like,
Hey, we're
all
the
into the
clown,
beer
it's not
description
you.
mode. I was like, oh, I'm not playing along. Fuck. I'm like, all right, well, whatever. I was just thinking too. We have this wonderful UK Connection shirt that we have selling on our merch page, right? Which I know a lot of you have bought. A lot of our shows, well, not a lot of our shows, some of our shows, we have like catchphrases. And, I just realized before, because we said it, we say our catchphrase each and every episode, and that should have been on the shirt. Simon, what are you drinking today? Well, thank you for asking. That should be on our shirt. We say that every single episode. Has nothing to do with the music, right? But it's tradition on the UK Connection. So, anyway, I know all this has nothing to do with Iron Maiden. We have now wasted how many minutes?
A week and a half.
Talking about power metal and beer and shirt slogans and catchphrases. Anyway, ranking the songs on a classic album. That is today, right? That is today. There is the classic album. Iron Maiden, The Number of the Beast.
Yes.
First album with Bruce, Mr. Dickinson.
Absolutely. So this, yes, is Number of the Beast by Iron Maiden. Okay. Superb artwork from Derek Riggs.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm a big Matt Wilkinson fan, but the only person that should be let loose on Eddie is Derek Riggs. But there you go.
I agree.
This was released on the 22nd of March 1982 in the US through Harvest and Capitol, and I had no idea that we had to wait a week here in the UK. It was released a week later through EMI here. This is the band's third album, their second produced by the legendary Martin Birch. It was, as Pete just mentioned, the first with ex-Samson singer Bruce Dickinson fronting the band. It was the first that saw guitarist Adrian Smith contributing some songwriting. It was also the final album that featured drummer Clive Burr. The full lineup was, of course, Dickinson, Smith, Burr, guitarist Dave Murray, and, of course, bassist Steve Harris, who formed the whole thing. and it was their first to hit #1 here in the UK, where it debuted at #1. It also went top 5 in Sweden, Switzerland, and Austria, got to #8 in Australia, 11 in Canada and Germany, 18 in New Zealand. However, it's only reached number 33 in the US. That said, it's been certified triple platinum in Canada, double platinum in the UK and New Zealand, platinum in the US and Australia, and gold in Austria, Germany, and Switzerland. Now, there were 2 singles released from the album. They were Run to the Hills, okay, which was Maiden's first top 10 UK single, reaching #7, and the title track, which got to #18. Okay, so the former also charted in Ireland, Australia, and Germany, and the latter only in Ireland, with neither charting at all in the US. All of which surprised me because I've never gone and looked at those stats before. I didn't realise that this was not quite the event in the US that it definitely was here. It definitely was here.
This was here amongst metal fans a very big deal, but to the masses, Maiden were not quite a household name yet. But I think as a result of this album, because Killers was an underground sensation, this album kind of had them, all of a sudden they're not quite headliners yet, but they will be. Peace of Mind is the album that they really took off here in the States, where everybody all of a sudden knows and loves Iron Maiden if you're, a heavy music fan. But this was the start. This album had to happen for everything else after that to happen. So cool. All right. How many songs do we got here? What do we got?
We've only got 8.
Do we want to do
3, 3, and 2?
3, 3, and 2? That works. Sounds good.
That's the way I've sectioned them on my thing here, so yes.
Yeah, that works. This and I will say this was very difficult. I think for me, my top 2, no issues. I knew exactly what they were going to be. The order to put the rest of them in was driving me absolutely bonkers. And I just, at some point, I gave up. I'm like, I don't know if you two had the same issues, but we'll see.
Let's see.
All right, Simon.
Okay, if only there was a way we could find out whether or not I had those issues. Excellent. Okay, right. I am working from this very cassette, which I have actually known and had longer than Mrs. Simon. And me and Mrs. Simon have been together for nearly 40 years. So, wow. Yes, indeed. And this has 8 tracks on, because I'm going to ignore that Total Eclipse actually exists, okay? Because it's not on the original version. No.
But it should have been. It should have been.
I know, so I'm ignoring that. It's on my CD, but it's not on that. Anyhow, right, so, finished. Right, are we ready? So, I know that really, we're all supposed to put a certain song last, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to put Invaders at #8. But I'm going to say that there are no songs on this album that I don't like. Very important record. One that I listened to obsessively for a number of years. I really did. I wore my Number of the Beast t-shirt out until it rotted at college. I really did. In fact, I think it actually did one of my A-levels for me. Economic history, where I didn't do very well because I wasn't interested. But anyhow, moving along. So I've got Invaders at #8. Mainly because the chorus doesn't grab me as much as anything else. What it does do, though, it sets the standard with some really good guitar work. It really does. And any album, anything that starts off with "Longboats have been sighted, the evidence for war has begun," that's going to work for your Uncle Simon. That's just so power metal-y, isn't it? And you can see the influence that Iron Maiden had on that particular genre. And when you're looking at things from a hindsight kind of perspective, sometimes you think, "Oh, sure." So what do Invaders do? Pillaging, fighting, looting, marauding, raping, plundering. No, they do. Those are all things that Invaders do.
They're not lying, right? They're not lying.
Absolutely not lying. So it's maybe that's possibly why it's #8. And one thing it does have, which might be why I've got it at number. It's got lots and lots of words. That opening chorus. Go on, Bruce. That's your introduction. Go for it. Go on. Have all those words. Sing those. Sing them now, Bruce. Do it now. Go on. Yeah. And I reckon Tony Kaka from Sonata Arctica sat there going, oh, God, lots of words in my power now. And it'll take me a long time to realize I don't need quite that many. But anyhow, my 7 is Gangland. And I don't get the hate for this song, because there is hate for this song out there, isn't there? I don't get it. I definitely prefer the chorus for Gangland than I do for Invaders, and that's why that's 7. All the rest at some point could have been and have been much higher up. So let's be honest, this list is just like that, isn't it? Really, it's just such a good record, isn't it? Or so I can't call these records, I believe. It's a record. Just saying. I know it's on the cassette version, but it's a record. Okay. So my 6, just for today, and just as I was writing them down about 4 o'clock this afternoon, and this afternoon, of course, being a Saturday, and it's definitely not Bruce Dickinson's birthday today. He's now 66 and 3 days old. Yes. So anyhow, right. So my 6 is 22 Acacia Avenue. A little bit more of Charlotte the Harlot. £15. That's all she asked for. 15 of your earth pounds.
I think she squeezed them quite hard there, Simon.
Yeah.
£15.
£15. Oh my gosh. Again, you look at the lyrics, you think, what can we do to her? We could beat her, mistreat her, abuse her, misuse her, caress her, molest. What? Yeah, molest. Yes. Well, I'm sure you can for £15. I've had some really cool time changes though. I like it. Maybe we can see where Iron Maiden are beginning to go. I've gone out of focus. Where Iron Maiden are ultimately going to end up in this century. We can do that, and we can do it 15 times in every song. I don't know about you though. Do you have any friends or acquaintances when anytime somebody says the number 22, you've just got to go the Avenue? Do you do that? Stephen does. Excellent.
It's the number we all love because of this song, right?
Absolutely. Anytime that number occurs anyway, you just got to say the Avenue, haven't you? You really do. Anyway, those are my 8, 7, and indeed 6. I like the way we're doing this. Even I can't fuck it up.
There you go.
I normally get a bit confused with numbers.
So what's the house number? 22? The Avenue. Yeah, I like that. I like that.
Okay, so number 8. Well, I'm going to play to type then. It's Gangland. This must be one of the most maligned songs ever by the band that wrote it and recorded it. They've gone as far as removing it from a reissue of the album. That's wrong, by the way. Don't do that. Okay, I don't like that. Leave it alone. This is the album that I've known basically all my life. Don't muck about with it now. It's too late now. We've all accepted it for what it is. Don't do that. And Total Eclipse isn't all that anyway. It's all right. It's not like you put it on the album and it suddenly goes, oh, well, suddenly it's even better. It's a classic album with this song. But hey, yeah. I don't know why it's got so much hate. I don't think it's all that bad. I do have a number 8 here. I will go with Simon. Everything here is good. Everything here is good. This is not one of these albums where I'll start to say round about track 5 or 4. Now we're in the really good stuff. We're in the really good stuff. I know that people don't like it. It's got a snarly vocal. I like the aggression. It's got a bit of punch about it. It does maybe kind of feel more like a Samson song than a Maiden song. It's kind of got that kind of feel about it. But there's great guitar playing and the solos. It's not a classic. I'll give it that. And surrounded by this group of songs, well, it kind of pales a little bit. But it pales a little bit. It's still a really good song. Yeah, number 7 is Invaders. This is kind of the one to me that feels like it's maybe left over from the first couple of albums. It's straight ahead. It's a little bit more kind of snot-nosed punk in its attitude, but it's still got Roman bass lines. And Dickinson has shown off his impressive vocal power right from the off. With hindsight, he says, don't muck about with these albums. The running order's a bit odd on this album, but it's I'll come to it, but it's not front-loaded. Let's just put it that way. But Clive Burr on the toms. Oh, come on. It's just phenomenal. And that's a theme throughout the whole album. Same again, this is not a bad song. I just feel that it kind of lands in the wrong place on the album. more than anything else. And here we go. This will be interesting. Are we going to do this all the way through, Uncle Simon? Because my number 6 is 22 Acacia Avenue. Yeah, and I know that we'll get lots of, well, I knew that I would. Now Simon will too. Excellent. We're in this together. Lots of hate in the comments for this. Is it hindsight? I don't know. But I mean, you've already read out some of the lyrics here, Simon. And yes, it's a song of its time lyrically, shall we say. But it's that little couple of lines where if you're waiting for a long time for the rest to do their piece, no, thank you. I'm off home. I'm okay. I'm fine by myself. Do you know? I mean, and oddly, the lyric I think is actually quite well-meaning. This would appear to be, ferocious young men kind of going, "We'll save that maiden," unintended. But the journey to get there, yeah. But there you go. But it's a really good song. I know it's a real sleeper favourite for a lot of people on this album. I've just never really connected with it quite as much. But yeah, I mean, I'm trampling on greatness here, so it is a great song. But that's my number 6.
More on that later.
Oh,
I will say I agree with you 100% that the sequencing of this album is off. And for me, I'll talk about this when I get to it. My number 8 is Gangland. And I will agree with you, there's no bad song on this album. I don't honestly, I know a song or two that we're going to talk about kind of get shit on by the longtime fans, but I don't think Gangland or Invaders are bad songs at all. I think they're both very good, actually. Gangland to me just winds up here because I like all the other ones a little bit better, but it's not terrible. I like the chorus. I think the guitar work is fine. I think a couple of these tracks, like you mentioned, seem like they could have fit in on Killers or the first album. And that's okay, because those are great albums, right? So I don't have an issue with any song on this album. Number 8 is Gangland. Number 7 is Prisoner. Great melodic chorus. I love the opening, drum and riff thing. I mean, they don't do a lot of these riffy type of things, right? I mean, this is not a band that, like, I don't know, for whatever reason, when I think of like the bands who have the greatest riffs of all time, I never think of Iron Maiden for whatever reason, because to me, they're like this. This is not like Priest or Sabbath riffs. They do these kind of like, I don't know. It's just different. It's the Iron Maiden way of doing things. But I think Prisoner is a terrific song. Such a great chorus. It's so memorable. Excellent. Number 6 is Invaders. I never got the hate for Invaders. I think Invaders is great, but you know what it isn't good at? It's not a good album opener. Because you look at almost every other classic Maiden album has a banger of an opener, and Invaders is fine, but it should not be the opening track here. Because to me, Number the Beast probably should have been the song that led off this album. It just makes the most sense. You can pick a couple others, but
intro alone dictates that it should open the album.
right?
And when you step away from this for a while and you come back to it, I put this on and think, I put the wrong side on, because in my head it still opens this album, even though I absolutely 100% know that it doesn't.
Right, because side 2 is so loaded.
Yeah.
Right. I used to have the same issue because, and it's a very similar story to what you're telling me here. When Back in Black came out from AC/DC, Back in Black, the title track kicks off side 2. That's always the side that I listen to the most. So in my mind, in the LP days, I always thought that Back in Black was the first song. But then, of course, when the CD came out, it's in the way it's supposed to be. And I'm like, oh, okay, Hell's Bells is first. Nah, I never listened to it in that order. So it's the same thing with this album. But notwithstanding, Invaders is fine. I like the chorus. I think the guitar parts at the beginning are really cool. You can hear Harris's bass, which is great. I love that. I love when Steve Harris is big in the mix and doing these kind of like acrobatic type things. Reminds me of the first 2 albums. But yeah, I mean, Gangland, The Prisoner, and Invaders, my bottom 3, but all 3 of those are really, really good tracks. Everything else, though, is completely classic for me anyway, going forward, and very, very hard to rank. And I think I've got a lot of history with this album. I bought it the day it came out. I've been listening to this forever. For me, re-listening to this album is like, okay, there's the songs that will forever be the greatness. There's the ones I've heard way too many times and I still love, but man, do I really need to hear them anymore? there's that issue with some of these albums. And we've talked about this before. We've had these albums that we know so well, and they have these classic hits or staple songs that we've heard on the radio, seen them played live a million times, and we're like, I still love it, but I don't need to hear you anymore. So it's hard to kind of put these in order because of that. But I'll stop there and go back to Simon for number 5, 4, and 3.
Yes, 5, 4, and 3. At some point, all these have been number one. Well, I'm thinking of you
Right?
walking.
You can make that argument, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just it's quite a facile kind of thing to do, and to rank a classic, an album that is so classic. I happen to be listening to this now, and that's number one. Oh, now I'm listening to something else. Oh, that's the best one. Oh, something else has come along. Oh, that's oh.
Yeah.
Well, okay. And then you get to hang on. Anyway, right. So, yesterday when I was listening to this, because I've listened to this a lot more than you, Peter. Yes, I have. This was the greatest song of all time for a period, and now it's number 5. Such is life, though. And this is where Simon goes off the reservation. My 5 is "Hallowed Be Thy Name." Yes, it is. I didn't do that when you wrongfully put The Prisoner so far down, did I, Peter? No, I didn't. No.
Well, there's The Prisoner and there's "Hallowed Be Thy Name," Simon.
Just saying.
This
I mean, what floats my boat? This is just this is great. I mean, it really is, But if it's so great and it's number 5, how good are the rest? That's what I'm saying. Okay. Like I said, yesterday's was absolutely within the top 1 or 2. I love the galloping nature of it. After about 3 minutes, when he starts doing on his horsey bass like that, and the last 3 minutes are just absolutely immense.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they really, really are. It's great, and you know what? If we'd have done this tomorrow, it might have been number 1. But it's not.
And how many times when you listen to that song, you think of seeing them live and Bruce running to one side of the stage and running to the other side of the stage? I mean, it's like you can't get out of your head. You've seen him once; he does it all the time. It's like it's classic.
Indeed. My 4 is a song that I absolutely loved for many, many years. I really, really loved it. And now I just think, oh Christ, this is so good. But is it a bit like more modern Maiden? Children of the Damned is my 4. The intro is beautiful. What a nice sexy little interview that is,
Yeah.
A little bit Sabbathy for me, but when it suddenly gets put through the Maiden fills, you holy shit, yes, it makes sense. But for many, many years, I'd either spool through it or zip through it, and all those years of pleasure that I denied myself.
Yeah,
I did. So I remain the kind of person that puts the album on and listens to it from start to finish. But if I thought, oh, just about to get home, I would now press it so this is the one that's the last thing I would listen to before I would get home. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Well,
Yeah.
no, but yes.
Oh, okay. Such is life, Yeah. I'm going to do my number 3. The only thing I wrote for my number 3 was "What a Chorus." Prisoner.
it's a great chorus, as I said. I totally get
It really is. It's so good. And you're looking at somebody who couldn't dislike the Prisoner TV series more. What a load of nonsensical bollocks. I'm just saying. Hi, Stephen. You're right. Bye. No wonder it didn't last very long. Just Jesus wept.
Wow, look at that. That's unboxing
Oh,
right there.
God.
Classy thing.
Well, rather watch Thunderbirds, and I didn't like that either. But yeah,
That's what we call the curse of the collector right there.
Beautiful. I would open it and bore you all to death, but that's another show entirely.
Absolutely. Just what a chorus! Just whoa! I'm not a prisoner. I'm a free man. Yeah. Wow. Just brilliant. Earworms, earworm stuff. And I think I am that kind of person that would really like them to do proper choruses again and concise songs. Even though I am one of the few people that like Senjutsu, so what do I know?
I like it, but I agree with you. Their choruses are not as memorable as they were back in the old days. Good songs, great songs, but yeah.
Oh,
See, she agrees with you.
Big
that's
fan.
my wife's dog.
Yeah, she's a Senjutsu fan. Anyway, Steven.
Right, number 5 for me is Children of
Carry
the
on. I'll
Damned.
be right back. Don't talk about me behind my back. We'll let this one out. I know I should know better, but yeah. Okay. Right back.
Seriously, how can you have the prisoner at 6? I mean,
That's exactly what I was going to say. Yeah, The Prisoner at 6. I mean, we listen to this guy all the time and go, Pete knows what he's talking about. And then every now and again, you just kind of go,
was he? Was he ever listened to this record?
I don't think so. I don't think he's ever had this before. I think he's just picked this up today and just making it up as he goes along.
You do realize all those CDs behind him are empty, don't you?
Yeah, that's just like it's a cardboard wall.
He just goes into Walmart and steals them.
That's why when he did that run, through the collection A to Z along the wall, he only showed 3 or 4 CDs. He just bought them.
Because he doesn't have
So
them.
yeah, Children of the
Right,
Damned,
you're
when
right.
they're moving from
Okay,
Invaders to the slow brooding Children of the Damned, that feels it's an odd move.
Hmm.
Do you know, it's a strange way to open an album, and yet it
Yeah.
really works.
Yeah, I would
This
definitely
is-
welcome with the singles myself. That's what I
There
would
you go.
what
Do you
I
know?
would- Front load the album.
Now, I can always go watch the recording of this before we air it. And if there's some funky stuff being talked about behind my back, I can always edit it out.
No need for that. No need for that. You know it's better than that. Come on, we'd never have done that. This is Iron Maiden becoming proper musical storytellers. Do you know? It's the music referencing the lyrics. It all comes together. There's so many layers, but I love how it just builds. As Simon mentioned, the intro to this song was fantastic, but then we're slightly over halfway through before we pick the pace up. That's really brave. Song number 2, and we're kind of going to the listener, the heavy metal freaks. Calm down. You can wait 2 minutes 30 something before we even begin to pick this one up. And then once the guitar solo kind of slides into view, we're suddenly at that maiden gallop. And it's just so classy. But the evolution, we've already said there's a couple of songs on this album that hark back to the debut in Killers. But now we're seeing the evolution that's really taking place here, the difference, the kind of the breadth of the songwriting. And it does kind of, and I know that I kind of labour the point with this band. It really saddens me that if Steve Harris was to sit down and write this now, it would be 27 minutes long. And that's the problem. And it would pick up the pace at the 23-minute mark. That's the problem. It's not that you can't write great songs. We just seem to take an awful long time through that gestation period where you go, it's finished now. There you go.
I mean,
Anyway.
Simon uses this term, this word concise all the time, right?
Yeah.
And how long is Children of the Damned?
It's under 5 minutes.
Right.
I'm sure.
So how many times have we said
4.5
in the
minutes.
past, 15 years that, oh yeah, this Maiden song on XYZ album or XYZ, I got to talk like you guys when we're doing this. You have this song that's like 9-12 minutes long, and you listen to it and you're like, all right, there's great moments in there, but how cool would that song be if it was 5 minutes long instead of 11? Right? Because we know there's greatness in there, but there's 2 minutes of and whatever else, right?
Yeah.
Because you're right. Children of the Damned is not that much different than some other stuff that he has written throughout the history of this band.
I think the
It's
clever
done
thing
the right way.
Yeah, the clever thing with Children of the Damned, let's not compare it to now or whenever, is that in your mind, it is 7-8 minutes long.
Yeah, it's
It's
not.
this song that has this massive intro that builds into that kind of midsection, the fantastic guitar solo, and then this romping outro, which is about for 30 seconds, really.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it so exciting, is it doesn't need to be elongated. It doesn't need 3 or 4 distinct movements. We just build, we crescendo, and then we go. But
so you
that
just
was
proved
the
my
thing.
point of something I said here on, I don't know what show it was, something I said here on the channel on a previous episode. I don't know if it was in the Prog Seat or I don't remember, where I said that this song seems longer than it is. Like in my mind, I don't remember what song I was talking about, but like in my mind, it's like an 8-minute long track, but in reality, it's only like 4 or 5 minutes. But people took that comment as differently than the way I perceived it, because like, oh well, shouldn't that be a bad thing if you think the song is actually longer than it is? No, because there's so much going on in this song that for the 4 or 5 minutes they pack so much in there that we assumed it's like 8, 9 minutes long, but actually they spoke so much, they played so much in that 4 minute time frame that to us it seemed like an epic track, but it really isn't.
Yeah,
So it's
that's what
not
I
a
was going to
bad thing at
say.
all, right?
Yeah, but I'm not referencing this feels longer in the sense that I get bored and think, oh God, is it still going? What I mean by that is, in my mind's eye, when I've finished listening to this album, this track is so epic that it doesn't compute that it managed to squeeze all of that into 4.5 minutes.
Yeah.
And that to me is great songwriting. That's not
Yeah.
boring songwriting. That's great songwriting. And anyway, as I say, I labour the point with Maiden because I do still really like them. I just happen to want to like them more than I still do. But there you go. Not this era, of this era, but yeah. I'm also old. That maybe is part of it. But okay, right. Number 4 is The Prisoner. Okay, as we've discovered, I'm a big fan of the TV show, like we all are here, obviously. Okay, I've written down Simon, which Simon will agree with, that it's one of the most complex, involved, deep thinking, and utterly bonkers TV ever made. I will agree, it's utterly bonkers. Okay, and the conclusion, well, who knows? He doesn't know. Anyway, but that spoken intro, okay, that's between number 2 and number 6 from the TV show. That was the first time I heard anything from The Prisoner, the TV show, because I'm of an age where it had kind of been and gone, and then it would come back on Channel 4 over here, I think in the 90s. So it didn't have any reference point to me, but I was utterly captivated by it. What does it mean? What's it about? And it leads into the song so well. And I love the energy of this track. What a great couple of guitarists we've got in this band, sparking off each other. Then you've got Harris kind of swooping in and diving about, not just playing a boring bass line. He's having none of that. The drums are hurtling along, and there's an outstanding vocal from Bruce Dickinson. I mean, I've just, okay, mentioned the whole band, but he is just great throughout. They all are great throughout. But I love that pre-chorus. It just kind of ramps things up before we actually hit the chorus itself. But the chorus, I know we've already said it, but it's great. And the vocals, the way they're produced, the layering of them, it's just so good. This band have just changed lead singer. It's one of the hardest things to do. So many bands get it wrong, so few get it right. I like Paul Di'Anno, but oh, big tick in the box time, isn't it? As
Well,
a new fan,
this ranks up
this,
there with Heaven and Hell as one of the great albums with a brand new singer who replaced a really good singer, or it's a great singer, right? Yeah, and that gets it right off the bat.
Yeah. And my number 3, and right, wrong, or indifferent, who knows? I'm going Run to the Hills. Okay, is it a case of hearing it too much? It is, arguably is, to be fair. But yes, albums are usually front loaded. Okay, we usually complain that by the time that it gets to the last 2 or 3 songs, we're all running out of steam. That is not what's happening here. I've got 3 songs left to rank. My top 4 has got, or my top 3, sorry, is 3 of the last 4 songs on this album. I mean, go out with a bang, absolutely. It's still oddly sequenced, and yet I wouldn't change it. But there you go. Arguably, is this Maiden's best known song? Kind of outside the fan base? I would think it is. I remember being back at school.
It's top 3, right? Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
this was the only Maiden song that everyone knew until, of course, I think, was it Can I Play With Madness got top 5 or whatever it was.
Yeah, 2 minutes to midnight, I would put up there
slaughter.
as well. Yeah.
But there you go. But it is great. I mean, it's just a cracking kind of romp along. It's rammed with hooks. It's got some of the best tom fills you will ever hear anywhere. You listen out for the drums in this song, and it's got one of those choruses that convinces me that I'm a great singer, and I'm murdering every word of it. Absolutely killing it every single time. But I've got to do it though. You've got to do it. And sung by just a bunch of people, it's terrible. It's just terrible. Sung by Bruce Dickinson, it's just masterful. Do you know? But the video is brilliant. I mean, it features Adrian Smith in blonde mode. I mean, Bruce Dickinson's wearing a studded wristband.
Yeah.
Steve Harris is in stripy spandex, not even on the legs. It's up here, everybody. Do you know? I mean, could you want anything more from life? And I'll tell you, back when this album came out, no, I couldn't actually. I absolutely wanted nothing more from life. And I was 9 when this came out. that was what I thought was it. I want a studded wristband to hold the whole arm. Anyway, do you know what? Do you know? And I mean, Bruce, he absolutely woes for all his I in this song. It's just absolutely iconic. I could, if I was being really, really, really honest, do with a couple less repetitions of the chorus right at the song's end, because it does become a little bit silly by the time that we run for our lives over the hills a million times. But there you go. It's iconic. It's classic. It's only number 3.
Yeah, I actually just watched the video earlier today, and I hadn't seen it in a long time. It's so good. It is for
Yeah.
what it is, right? I mean, Bruce looks so badass, doesn't he? I mean, what better way to announce yourself in this? Because let's be honest, worldwide, nobody was listening to him in Samson, right? As great as those couple albums are, but man, now all of a sudden he's an Iron Maiden, this great up and coming band, and he just looked amazing. Just looked amazing.
Yeah, I must have. My brother had a full size poster of Bruce with a foot on the monitor and the studded wrist with a microphone staring out. Never at the camera. You look at the video, he's never at the camera. He's always off here somewhere. It's great.
I can imagine like 3 years later, he's like, fuck these things, man. They're too damn hot on stage. They look like
I tell you, my brother had one. He actually went out and bought one, and it was the most horrific thing.
I had one too.
And your arm just smelled of sweat.
Yeah. I actually got mine taken away at a concert once because they reached a point here in the States where they're like, no, if you're in like an arena show, you can't have that. And I remember like it's like you need to hand that in. And I was like,
yeah.
But can I get it back? It's like, well, you can take it back to your car. And I'm like, but the car's like a mile away. I'm like, it's like, oops. Oh well. First things first, I will say this beer is now a 4.25. Really good. The more I keep drinking, the more I'm liking it. That's a keeper right there. Really good. And I do want to mention, because we've been talking about this album and classic Maiden and whatnot, but later on today, hopefully later on today, Rich Catino and I will be doing our next installment of the New Wave of Traditional Heavy Metal Primer show. There's a band, for those of you who won't watch that show because you don't like watching shows about bands you don't know, there's a US band called Traveler, who are really, really cool. And they're very, very much in the vein of the first 3 Iron Maiden albums. So if you like that sort of thing, check them out. They're amazing. Great albums. I know Steven's probably, both of you guys probably should be interested in checking them out. Really, really good. Anyway,
I'm taking notes here.
Okay, there you go. All right, so my number 5, again, I'm going with some of the order of this based on overexposure a little bit. Run to the Hills is my number 5. I still think it's a great song. It was one of my favorite Maiden songs at the time, and I still think it's really, really good. Yeah, it's a song everybody knows, but man, the drums on it are amazing. I love the guitar playing, and Bruce is just, air raid siren throughout the whole thing. It's great. I have to sometimes, like with these albums I know so well and I've had so much history with, to just say, well, how do I feel about these albums or songs today? Right? Because you can only take what I thought as a 16-year-old so you can only put so much weight behind that. So yeah, Run to the Hills is my number 5. Great song. Love it. I get, no issues with it whatsoever, other than the fact that I've heard it a million times. On the same token, number 4 is going to be Number of the Beast. I know that might be a little bit controversial for some people. Steven looks completely puzzled there.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sure that we broke up there because I appear to have missed some of your choices. No. It sounds to me like you've just put Number of the Beast in really quite low.
Well, that's number 4. There's 3 better songs as far as I'm concerned. I think it's great. I love it. I love it. Don't get me wrong, I love it, but again, I've heard it a million times. It was never one of my upper echelon Maiden songs. It's always been like really, really good, but not one of their great tracks. Man, it's great, but I've just heard it a million times. I'm trying to explain myself here, but I don't know if I'm doing a good job of it. But anyway, today it's my number 4. It's a classic Maiden song. Don't get me wrong. You know why it's number 4 and not number 3? Because I have found that Children of the Dam has dated itself really fucking well. And I think Children of the Damned is probably other than my top two, which will always be my top two, Children of the Damned is the one song on this album that I think over the last 40 years has risen the highest through my ranking of the songs on this album. I think Children of the Damned is a masterpiece. It's moody, mid-paced. It provides the variety on this album that I think is extremely welcome amongst all these fast, speedy bangers. And I think it's just we talked about it already. It's a master way of storytelling within a 4.5 minute long song that they are now these days taking 12 minutes to tell. And I think it's proof positive that you can do this sort of thing, this moody kind of bubbling, boiling thing with tension and drama and emotion in under 5 minutes and do it well. It's so good. Bruce's vocal is so good. The riffs are good. The atmosphere is just dark and creepy, kind of like the first album. I think it's great. Amazing. I never bothered because I'm not a big lyric guy. Is the lyrics to this song tied in with the classic movie Children of the Damned? I don't even know. I'm assuming it is because I know there wasn't.
It's along those lines from what I believe. Yeah.
Yeah. I figured as much. I never bothered to look into those things because, quite frankly, I normally don't really care. But I do love the movie. So, but yeah, that's my number three. That was my biggest surprise in going through this whole exercise is the fact that I fully feel today in 2024 that I enjoy Children of the Damned a little bit more, just a little bit, than Number of the Beast and Run to the Hills, which is probably surprising a lot of people. But it's a damn good song. It's a damn good song. So.
Okay. Let's see who wins the prize for working out what I think are my two favorites. That's right. Very good. The singles. Yay. Go me. Yeah, and now I've heard that actually they weren't popular in the rest of the world. That's great. Okay, so it's entirely possible that without seeing the video for Run to the Hills on Top of the Pops, that right now you'd be talking with David Gallagher or somebody else on the UK connection because I would probably not have got into metal or anything without that song. And like you say, what a video! Fantastic.
Yeah,
in fact, the video for Number of the Beast is equally great as well. Stood up so well to the ravages of time. Just such an unbelievably exciting song. The drums and guitars at the start, just brilliant. And when it says, "Will we ever be set free?" What happens next? Oh shit! Here we go. Yes, bam. It makes sense. Awesome. It's just a great song. It just makes me so happy. Really does. It reminds me of when I was at college and when I was at university and listening to it, roughly all the time. Barely listened to it in the last 20 years, I wouldn't have thought. But hey, Iron Maiden are that kind of band for me. Got older shit, very rarely listened to them. Except for the first two. Like them a lot. Anyhow, right, A Number of the Beast is my number one. I love the intro. I love the opening riff. Oh my God, that is so brilliant. And you can see Bruce must have been thinking, I'm gonna rein it in. I'm gonna rein it in for oh fuck it. Here we go. Yes. Yes, off we go. He must have reined it in for about 8 seconds or something like that. And the guitars on that are just so good. Just brilliant songs. The pair of them, and just such important songs. So certainly to me and the musical choice I went down. Otherwise I could have been listening to Sade or something like that came out. I know shortly there. No, that's not true. No. Johnny H. Jazz, no. I appreciate that's a bit like Wham, no. So thank you, Number of the Beast. Thank you, Run to the Hills. But all the top six at some point could have been number one. It just happened to be the mood that I was in earlier this Saturday afternoon.
Right. So I have a quick question for you guys, because Simon kind of brought it up here, the fact that he doesn't listen to Maiden as much as he used to. So here in the States for the last 40 years, since both of these bands became kind of big, there's always been this whole thing, Maiden versus Priest. And I think for me, like through the early on, I was more of a Priest fan. But then as the 80s started to wear on into the 90s, Maiden became my favorite of the two. And in more recent years, I still love both of them, but I find that I listen to Priest music more. How does that sit with you guys today?
Yeah, I prefer latter period Priest to latter period Maiden. I'm more likely to listen. Then again, I listen to Maiden a lot more than I used to listen to the Priest. So I find more to discover in some of the Priest catalog that I didn't listen to when I was.
Back in the day, so you're going back a lot more. Okay, gotcha. That's
I absolutely love latter period Priest
yeah, yeah.
in a way that I don't love latter period Iron Maiden. But
Yeah,
then
this
Saxon
was
blow them all out the water. So there you go, Joe.
this was an interesting process for me because there are certain albums that you listen to that are completely in a different context. And this is one of those albums for me. This is proper formative stuff. As Simon's alluding to, without these albums, certain albums, who knows what I would be listening to now? Because this was so important. I remember I went to, off at a tangent, excuse me, I went to a drum club thing. I learned to play the drums at school. And at one point there was some music camp thing, but it was just for the guys that and girls that took the drum classes across all the different schools in my area. And we got together somewhere, and it was a 3 day thing. And there was just this little club of people. I was young. I don't know what age I would be, but I was 3 or 4 years younger than most of the other guys. And it was stuff like this that gave me a bond. Because when you're 12 or 13 and you're rooming with guys that are 15, 16, it's a bit intimidating. You've not got much in common. You're a bit of a child. They feel very grown up. And then when they worked out, when I took a Maiden t-shirt I had on, they were like, "Oh, you like Maiden?" And the next thing you know, we're playing like Run of the Hills in one of the drum sessions that we're doing, and they're all winking at me as
And all of a
you
sudden you have
know,
something in common, right? And now you're bonding,
absolutely.
right? Yeah.
And that's how important this music was back then, because nobody in my school was into this kind of stuff. I had, other than my brother and one or two friends, there was nobody around that was talking about this kind of stuff. So Maiden is a different kind of context for me. Judas Priest I really liked back then, but they didn't have that same importance. And it seemed that, or it does to me anyway, it'd be interesting to see if anyone agrees or disagrees in the comments. Maiden were kind of rite of passage band. If you were into heavy metal in the early 80s, well, you were into Iron Maiden. That was just one of those things. It was a given. And I know that there are a few people who've commented when we'd said we were going to be doing this show, "Nah, I never liked Maiden. I won't be watching." That's fair too. Nobody can like everything.
No.
Do you know? And that, but it is a small minority. So this was really, really important to me. I probably listen to Priest more now than I do Maiden. And yet, when I put on anything from kind of Number of the Beast through to Somewhere in Time, it's more important to me now. Does that make sense? Because there's a connection there that the Priest albums didn't have for me back at that point. And yet,
Right.
now I put on something like Painkiller and go, well, this is where it's at. So I don't know if that's also an age thing too. I'm not sure. But yeah, it's an interesting question, but there's different reasons involved.
Yeah, it's always been hard for me because I connected to both of them big time right around the same time. I became a fan of both literally within a year from each other. So I've been kind of going back and forth for most of my life. It's kind of like the Deep Purple Black Sabbath thing with me. They've both been my favorite bands for 45 years, and I constantly every couple of years I go one over the other as far as who's my favorite. So it's a lot of people here always compare Maiden and Priest, always. And I think that the one thing nowadays, and again, not to derail the whole conversation, but I think that a lot of people, there's still tons of Maiden fans that buy and love the newer records, but I think I talk to so many people who find that the more recent Priest albums are a little more consistently good,
Mm.
and they have less to kind of complain about than some of the Maiden ones. But so then it comes down to, well, which are of the early albums or the catalogs touched you more during your formative periods, right? So like which band was more important to you 40 years ago or 50 years ago in Priest? But so yeah, it's kind of difficult because I'd be lying if I didn't tell you that like Killers, Number of the Beast, Peace of Mind, Power Slave weren't immensely important albums for me. But on the same token, if I go back to like Unleashed in the East and Stained Class and, you know, Defenders of the Faith and Screaming for Vengeance and all that stuff wasn't ridiculously important to me as well. I know it's a tough question. That might even be another whole other episode, right?
Yeah, that might well be. Because as I say, I was 9 when this came out, and Maiden just seemed to be there for me. Do you know what I mean? They were just the prize. They were everything. And bands like Priest they were all there, but they just didn't have that same importance for me at that stage. And yeah, that's shifted over the years. That's maybe down to do with current output. I don't know what. But anyway, way off beam. My 2 in 1. Because, yeah, well, 2 is Hallowed Be Thy Name. Okay. If Children of the Damned was kind of Maiden finding that musical storytelling voice, by the time that we've come to close the album, they've not found it. They've got it. They've delivered it. It's everything. So, you know, Hallowed Be Thy Name is fantastic. It's full of atmosphere. We have the air raid siren, everybody, in full voice. You know, Bruce has arrived. The air raid siren is here. But the drum breaks, my guitar solo, I mean, it's air drum heaven, isn't it? But it introduces the tempo change. Everything is so well put together here. This is not just blood and thunder kind of stuff, do you know? And the instrumental sections on this song and a lot throughout the album are every part as important as the vocals. This was Bruce's debut. Everyone goes, oh, what a great way to introduce a great singer. But without these songs, without everything that backs it up, it doesn't matter how good your singer is. It's the whole package. Everything has arrived here. But it's also got guitar lines that a crowd can sing live, do you know, and loudly at a concert. And that is why they've played it right throughout their career, because it's just such an engaging song, do you know? And I will concede that it's the longest track on the album. People will be going, oh yeah, but it's getting up there in length and you complain about the longer songs. But it does so much. And it's just, there's not a wasted second here. And what a way to close an album out, you know? But yeah, my number 1, I'm Simon.
Not the greatest album closer of all time.
It's up there, isn't it? It's absolutely up there.
Yeah.
Considering that it's not, with hindsight, a brilliantly sequenced album. The closer's in the right place. Yes. It absolutely is.
100%.
For me, Number of the Beast should have opened it, but there you go. And yes, it's overplayed, it's overexposed, and it's pretty close to 80s heavy metal perfection. It really is. And I think that, see, again, I'll talk about an age thing. Having that spooky Bible quoting intro, courtesy of Barry Clayton, who was an actor that I know nothing else about really, opening up this album, at the age I was at, you were like, what the hell is this? Do you know? And then the guitars kick in and you're like, oh, what is happening? It's just so good. That guitar intro is so iconic. And then Bruce is moody and he's atmospheric, and then he just opens up. I believe it's just so good. And who doesn't speak every word of that intro every time you hear it? Do you know? You sing every word of the chorus. It's just so good. And it's got one of the, if not the best screams ever in heavy metal. It's just, I mean, there's all the stories about hours and hours of sing this again, Bruce, sing this again, Bruce, sing this again, Bruce. And Martin Birch had actually stopped recording, and then he screamed in anguish. I mean, I think that's maybe good folklore more than it is what really happened in the studio. But I'm okay with that because it's a great story. But it's a great scream either way, do you know? And don't get me wrong, I love Nico McBrain. I really do. The guy's such a great drummer, and he's been perfect for this band. I'll tell you what, though, Clive Barr, he's the real deal. He's absolutely the real deal here. He's just so good. The fills are immense. The beat, the tempo, everything is just bang on where it should be. He's dragging these songs along without having to do too much. It's really, really clever. And he's always going to be underrated because of what happened afterwards. But yeah, amazing.
Well, this album is his tour de force. I mean, this is
yes.
This is a masterclass in heavy metal drumming, right? Yeah,
absolutely.
Sure. Yeah.
This to me is everything coming together. This song is just fantastic. It's maybe the easy pick. I think some people will probably not put it at number 1, and there's no right or wrong in that sense. But yeah, it's phenomenal. And yes, I've heard it too many times, and yet as soon as it starts, I'll listen to it again because it's just so good, so good.
I would argue that this album and Peace of Mind two different drummers have the best drumming on any Maiden albums in the whole catalog on these two albums.
Yep, I'll go with that.
Yeah. That was always interesting. You know, I can't tell you how many knuckleheads I knew growing up who were like, how cool is it that Maiden got Vincent Price to do that intro to that song, man? Yeah, no. They're probably still doing it, right?
They're probably still doing it.
Yeah. Vincent Price, yeah, he's on Number the Beast. Woo! Yeah, all right, whatever. My number 2 is Hallowed Be Thy Name. Again, I don't know what more I can say. It's a great song. It's a legendary song. It's pretty much perfection. It's one of the greatest album closers of all time. I mean, that's how you close an album, people. You don't close it with a ballad or a wimpy, softy song. You close it like that. It's epic, but again, it's not that long, right? I mean, it's one of those songs that like it feels like it's like 12 minutes. No, it's not. I don't know how long it actually is. What is it? 6 minutes long, something like that? Maybe 7. I don't even remember.
I know.
I don't even know. It's
Steve tells me on here.
7:10.
7:10.
Simon's got all the info.
Yeah, I mean, that's how you do it right there, folks. Not a wasted moment. That's my number 2. My number 1, and the right answer is 22 Acacia Avenue. That's the place where we all go.
I've left the queue.
Yeah, I know. Oh, well, you know, lyrics notwithstanding, the arrangement of the song is so good. So this was a song that a band I was in high school played, and we loved playing this song because it's got great riffing. It's got those challenging little guitar bits and whatnot. The drumming is excellent, and it's just, man, the pacing is so good. I mean, literally for me. And ironically, maybe not, my top 3 songs are all the more epic feel tunes on the album, which is really weird when you think about it, because I always come down on the more recent output as being too epic. But here, 22 Acacia Avenue, Hallowed Be Thy Name, and Children of the Damned are, to me, a trio of songs from this album that I think have a similar mindset. And I've always thought, you know, man, you end side 1 with a banger, you end side 2 with a banger. And I think, to me, 22 Acacia Avenue and Hallowed Be Thy Name are 2 of the great, if not the greatest, album side closers in all of heavy music, bar none. I mean, it's just so good. But 22 Acacia Avenue has always been my favorite Maiden song. It still is, and it's my number 1. So, but yeah, like we said, there's no right or wrong answer here. This is an album full of classics. It'll be interesting to see how our viewers who are watching deconstruct this one and put it in order of preference, because it's not easy, because you can make a case for any of these songs to be like, you know, top shelf here, because they're all top shelf. That's the whole thing. So anyway, Steven, you want to give everybody a taste? That's our other catchphrase. You want to give everybody a taste of what's coming up in 2 weeks?
Yes, we're going off at a tangent in 2 weeks' time. I'm not quite sure exactly how we're going to name this one, but the way this was pitched was we are all going to go and look for at least 5, but 5 left field, bizarre, just plain weird novelty albums, something along those lines that is just crazy, kooky, wacky, bizarre, that when we hold it up, we're all going to go,
why do they own that? Why did they buy that?
That's kind of the theme of why do I own that? Why do they own those? So yeah, it's the bizarre stuff that just kind of resides in the back of the collection. I'm not even convinced I know why I have some of the things I've already thought about for it. But yeah, so should be interesting. I'm going to be intrigued to see how we all approach this, because I think there's a variety of different ways.
The UK Connections Bizarro Zone albums, right? Yes. So yeah, what we'll call it ultimately, I don't know. Just wait and see. But you guys know now what it's going to be, so you won't be like, that title doesn't make any sense to me. I'm not going to watch this episode. Well, now you know what it's all about, so watch the episode, all right? So I actually, you know what's funny? I honestly think, based on the analytics that I look at, that I think that we've got such loyal viewers of this program that they will watch no matter what we're talking about. I mean, granted, I know sometimes we, you know, the AOR melodic rock don't get as watched as some of this stuff. But for the most part, and you know what's also interesting is our viewership for this show is really, really highly concentrated in the UK and Europe, which is really weird. We don't get that kind of like that mix with some of the other shows. Like, it's always very dominated by the US, but this show in particular, the UK folks watch it religiously. We love that. So for you UK folks who watch this show and love it because you love this trio, thank you so much for being loyal viewers. We really appreciate that. That does
Absolutely.
not go unnoticed. So anyway, there we have it. Another plug. Go try Juice Stand. It's really damn good. Really damn good. This may be a 4.5 now. In fact, I have another one in my fridge. I may be drinking this after I get off with these two friends. Yeah, probably not a good idea because I'm supposed to be taping with Rick Labonte in an hour and a half. I don't know. I may be a little comatose by the time Rick and I talk, but anyway. For those watching, that episode is going to air before this one, so you can tell if you go watch the live album Love with Rick and myself. Just yeah, okay, I won't give any more away. Anyway, visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, all together, all the damn time. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and click on that notification bell so you get alert of all of our content as a post. And please do hit the like button before you leave. Also down there below Steven today, we got the links to our Ko-Fi page for channel donations, our merch page, and our Cameo page. Did you find it? I know it's down there somewhere. It's no, Simon must have stole it. I think that's what happened. Simon's got it underneath himself there. Anyway, it's down there somewhere. And we'll see you next time here on the UK Connection. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, everybody. For Simon Bray and Steven Reid, I am Pete Pardo. Tune in tomorrow for ranking the albums. Grant Arthur and myself will be ranking the catalog of, who are they? JoJo Gunn. That's right. Very cool rock band featuring members of Spirit. So that's coming up tomorrow. Till then, have a good one, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.